When any game is released, it comes with an assortment of exploits and glitches which have gone unnoticed by the developers. As the player base becomes aware of them, the game is patched to remove these perceived faults. What this means for speedrunners is that the release version of the game tends to be the fastest, as often the changes to the game make it overall slower to complete. On the other hand, GTA 5 was released on PC April 14, 2015 with patch 1.24, yet this version is not the one that is speedrun. That distinction goes to patch 1.27, released 2 months later. This patch is broken in just the right ways to make it perfect for speedrunning. I say broken in just the right ways because arguably the current patch, 1.50, is far more broken just in ways that are not as beneficial. This video will compare all the previously mentioned patches and highlight their differences that come up in speedrunning. At a handful of points in the run, we perform a hospital warp. This is a glitch exclusive to patch 1.27. I will use Blitzplay to show how it's done. Currently I control Franklin, and I will blow up Michael to fail the mission. The trick is to then have the character I am controlling die after I've already mission failed.
You hear all them sirens?
Not only does this death save time by abusing a respawn point to progress slightly further ahead, I have now set up a warp that will occur at the end of the mission. It will quickly relocate me closer to my next destination.
Have a good one, boys.
Other patches have to resort to killing themselves after the mission completes to achieve the same effect. This takes considerably more time, especially as Michael doesn't naturally have access to quick explosives at that point in the run. On patch 1.27, after you complete a mission, you will have no waves until you reboot your game. This does not apply to mission replays, but for the purposes of the speedrun, the water is always as flat as a pancake. It shouldn't surprise you to learn that this saves time basically anywhere that you are on water because there is less resistance. More than this though, it also enables for some tactics that are not possible while having waves. One example is boat bouncing, where you bounce the front of your boat repeatedly. The result is less of your boat is in the water to cause resistance, but your engine is still submerged most of the time. Moreover, you can also land smoothly when the front of your boat hits the water. With waves, however, you constantly find yourself being bounced entirely out of the water and landing poorly, meaning you don't get the same benefits. Another example is dolphin strats. The more of the mini-sub that is out of the water, the faster it goes due to less resistance. You can therefore go under and then push yourself above the water, coasting on the top for a time with the largest possible amount of the sub surfaced. After some duration, the mini-sub sinks back into the water, so you have to repeat the process, but it is still faster than just normally sitting on the surface. On the other patches with waves, attempting to do this strategy is pointless because the waves constantly batter you under the water. If you switch to a character that is in a vehicle, the game will often automatically apply the brakes on your new character, which of course slows them down. This however does not occur in patch 1.27.
Don't worry, incoming!
Incoming? Man, you're all business.
Yeah, well, this is kind of important.
If that example wasn't obvious, hopefully this one just before monkey business is a bit more clear.
Agent Steve Haynes, man. Agent Steve Haynes, man. Agent Steve Haynes, man.
In some cases, it is possible to avoid this braking by not pressing accelerate during the character switching, but in other cases, it happens regardless of your inputs. It is therefore just better to play on 1.27 where it's never a factor.
Agent Steve Haynes, man.
Everything mentioned so far is an advantage of patch 1.27. The monkey business bug, on the other hand, is simply a disadvantage of later patches.
Hey, what's up?
Oh, hey, man.
Whenever you approach monkey business, for unknown reasons it will become disrupted. This causes the character waiting for you to run off, and you therefore must leave the area to respawn the mission and fix the bug. Arriving with a taxi is the only way to avoid the bug entirely, and I'm honestly surprised Rockstar hasn't fixed this yet, as it has been in the game for years.
Hey, what's up?
Oh, hey, man.
The only form of loading that differs significantly between the patches is loading a save file. This is most impactful to save warping, where you hold down a character swap button during the loading screen in order to warp to your safe house. One odd difference on patch 1.50 is that you cannot change camera while climbing or even for a small duration afterwards. This has some movement implications throughout the run due to the need to take advantage of the benefits of different camera modes, which I discuss at length in my Facts and Glitches series. In this example, I immediately start spamming the camera swap button when I begin to climb. Take extra notice of how long it takes on patch 1.50 to start changing. If you shoot your weapon or are near hostile enemies, you enter combat mode. One effect of this is that putting away and bringing out your weapon gives you a small increase in movement speed. While this movement increase is present on the latest patch, it seems the duration you need to hold down to bring up the weapon wheel has decreased. The result is that it's slightly harder to continuously bring out and put away your weapon without inadvertently bringing up your weapon wheel, which slows you down, or accidentally changing weapon. It's not a huge issue, but it is an inconvenience. Another minor difference exists in the middle of the Polito score heist when you drop off Franklin. On patch 1.27, the yellow dot does not cause you to brake, therefore you slide forward before coming to a stop. This enables you to have your door be up against a wall before it activates, resulting in Franklin warping out of the van rather than taking his time to open the door.
I'm on getaway, man. I'll do it.
All right, you know where you gotta be?
I got it down.
I'll bring a die pack just for you.
A change that made the game better, but that is not very good for us speedrunners, is that on newer patches you need to confirm that you want to leave the mechanics. This isn't hugely impactful, but it is one additional input, and you can accidentally cancel leaving, delaying you further. A difference that arguably isn't very impactful but really obvious when you play is that earlier patches have a delay when you access ammunition. You press interact and then have to wait a few seconds before it actually registers.
Wondering if you'd be back in again. Listening to you and those two friends of yours bantering back and forth, it was so cool. It was like I was in a movie.
Patch 1.27 has the longest wait, and in order to not lose time by waiting, you have to walk away towards the exit during this delay. You can of course lose time by not walking away fast enough, or by turning away too fast and not interacting with the counter.
Listening to you and those two friends of yours bantering back and forth, it was so cool. It was like I was in a movie.
Comparatively on the latest patch there is no delay, which is far easier. You can't mess up, and you get the same amount of time to walk and leave. 1.27 just has it before the purchase, while newer patches have it after.
I was wondering if you'd be back in again. Listening to you and those two friends of yours bantering back and forth, it was so cool. It was like I was in a movie.
Obviously not all these differences are equally as impactful, but it should be really obvious why we play on patch 1.27. And so that ends the video. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, I'd appreciate if you press like. I hope you're all doing well.